Unbelievable twist. She confided in a stranger who turned out to be her love-struck boss. The air crackled with tension that night. A dimly lit cafe on a rainy corner in Chicago held its breath as Brooke, drenched and shivering, sat across from a stranger. His eyes deep, mysterious, as stormy as the swirling clouds outside captivated her. She wasn't supposed to talk to him, right? Yet, there she was pouring out her heart like a spilled drink. They were just two souls in a crowded world, but this encounter felt electric. Did he feel it too? Brooke's life had recently spiraled into chaos. A promotion that slipped through her fingers, a breakup that shattered her heart, and a raging storm that mirrored the turmoil inside. Then a stranger appeared. She didn't know his name, but he listened intently, as if her words were precious jewels. What was it about him that felt so familiar? How was it that she could speak so freely in front of a complete stranger? The barista fumbled with a cup, a loud clatter breaking through Brooke's thoughts. Her heart raced. For a split second, she felt the stranger's gaze pierce through her. Was he judging her? Or was it something deeper? The cafe was filled with whispers, the scent of coffee mingled with fear, and palpable curiosity swirled around the room like the steam from the espresso machine. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her mind raced. Would she ever see him again? Just then the stranger shifted in his seat, leaning closer, a spark igniting the tension. You're not like anyone I've met, he began, but the sound of his voice faded into the buzz of the cafe. Brooke's breath caught in her throat. This was more than chance. But why did he feel so much like the boss she was trying to forget? Heart pounding, she glanced away, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. What if this was fate or a terrible mistake? With the rain drumming on the windows and her heart racing like mad, she wondered. Could he really be the one she was meant to confide in, or was he hiding something even darker? Brooke blinked hard, trying to pull herself back from that precarious edge. Something about the way he leaned forward made her pulse quicken. Every moment felt electric, filled to the brim with anticipation and doubt. She could almost feel the weight of his words pressing against her chest. She swallowed, trying to ground herself. Are you okay? He asked, his voice a low rumble, smooth and steady like the rain outside. His concern felt genuine, a tether to the moment. I am fine, she stammered, the words spilling out too quickly. But were they true? She wasn't so sure. The rain dripped rhythmically against the window, blurring the outside world. Inside, her own feelings mingled like a storm, leaving her disoriented. Just trying to figure things out, you know? He nodded, and for a brief second, she saw understanding reflected in his eyes. Sometimes it helps to talk. His gaze didn't waver, and that made her heart race even harder. There was a connection, but in the back of her mind loomed a looming shadow, truths yet to be uncovered. Just as she opened her mouth to speak again, the door swung open and a gust of wind swept through the cafe. The bell jingled, signaling another patron's arrival. But it was the frantic line of a woman's face that drew Brooke's attention. Her eyes were wide, searching for something or someone. Brooke, the woman gasped, spotting her through the dim light. There you are. I've been looking everywhere. Brooke's breath hitched. It was Kim, her coworker and longtime friend, completely unaware of the cinematic moment unfolding before her. Kim wasn't one to burst in like this without reason. She was the steady one, always cautious. Something must be wrong. What is it? Brooke asked, her voice steadying despite her inside turmoil. Laura just called. She said there's a huge problem with the presentation for Friday. You need to see this, Kim replied, a frenzy of urgency in her words. The stranger's eyes darkened slightly, a flicker of concern creasing his brow. Brooke couldn't tell if it was for her or because of the disruption. I need to go, she stated, feeling the weight of the cafe slip away, leaving only the urgency of work behind. Wait, he reached for her hand, and the warmth of his touch sent a jolt through her, grounding her momentarily. You don't have to leave like this. Honestly, I do. If I don't handle this now, it could cost me my job, she replied, yanking her hand away with reluctance. The fleeting connection felt like an anchor in a storm. In a world where she was fighting against the tides, perhaps he was a raft one she could cling to or drift away from. Are you certain this is what you want? He asked, something serious lacing his tone now. She could see at the flicker of something deeper in his eyes, a clash between concern for her and the roles they held outside this little cafe. Brooke turned to Kim, who was visibly anxious, and back to the stranger, her heart tumultuous. This could be my last chance to make an impact, she whispered. I have to. Brooke, he said softly. Remember, you're stronger than what they expect of you. She nodded, but her heart was heavy with an unspoken question. Would she get a chance to know more about him? As Brooke hurried to the door, a final pull urged her to look back. The stranger, still seated, wore a look that betrayed both admiration and caution. Desperate curiosity wove through her. Who was he really? And why did it feel as though part of her story was intertwined with him? With a deep breath, she stepped out into the rain, one foot in her chaotic reality, the other still lingering in the world they had just shared. But just as she turned the corner, her phone buzzed insistently. Heart racing, she opened a message that felt like a lightning strike. You have to know the truth about Jonathan. Who was Jonathan? And why did it feel like storm clouds were gathering once again? Brooke felt the rain slice through the evening air, soaking her as she stumbled down the street. She barely heard the city sounds, her mind racing to piece together the fragments of her evening. Jonathan? Who was he, and what did that text mean? The urgency in Kim's voice still echoed in her ears, and she felt a surge of frustration. Everything was spiraling fast. A presentation, a mystery man, and now a cryptic message that threatened to unravel it all. As droplets slid down her hair and clung to her skin, she fumbled with her phone, desperately searching for clarity. Jonathan was a name she recognized, someone she had briefly met at a conference last month. He had made a polite impression, but nothing more. Why would he suddenly be the subject of a truth she needed to hear? Brooke picked up her pace toward the office. The fear of losing her job tightened her chest, but the gnawing worry of unresolved dramas lingered in her mind like the rain. She turned sharply into a side alley, longing for shelter from the storm. Her phone vibrated again. The screen flashed another message that sent a shiver down her spine. You're not safe. Jonathan knows things he shouldn't. The words haunted her. Who was this texting her? Why such accusations? She shoved her phone into her pocket, trying to push down the rising panic. She couldn't think about this now, she needed to focus. The last 3 months of her life had revolved around securing a major client for her firm. That was her priority. Suddenly she froze, heart pounding. There, up ahead, she saw a figure cloaked in darkness, standing at the entrance of the office building. Adrenaline surged through her as she approached cautiously. She squinted, intending to identify the silhouette. Brooke. It was Jonathan, his voice slicing through the tension, playful yet heavy with intent. What are you doing here? She asked, instinctively taking a step back. The unease screamed in her gut. He was the last person she expected to see here, especially after the text. They just wrapped up a meeting. I thought I'd catch you before you went home, he said, stepping into the light. His face, once amiable, now swirled with something darker, something she couldn't quite place. Okay, Brooke struggled with mixed feelings. Was he here to help or hinder? I wanted to see if you'd heard about the changes to the project, he continued, wetting tone to an unsettling undertow. We need to talk. I have information that's crucial. Just then, a distant echo shattered the moment, a car horn blaring followed by a faint thud. It was a reminder of the world outside, unpredictable and chaotic. While tension hung heavily between them, it felt as if this moment held potential energy, ready to crack wide open. Jonathan, I really don't have time for this, Brooke replied, the urgency of her priorities winning against curiosity. But hidden in her voice were doubts. She couldn't shake this feeling that something deeper was entangled here. Please, just a minute. He leaned closer, his expression earnest, pleading. There are things happening that you don't know about. Dangerous things. We could both be at risk. The weight of his words settled ominously around them. Brooke's breath hitched. She felt the storm's true fury brewing within her. What was he claiming? Was he trying to entice her with a threat, or was there truth in his urgency? In the tension, she instinctively looked down the alley, half expecting to see someone listening. "I don't have time for games, Jonathan," she said, chewing on a weave of anxiety and rage. "What do you mean risk? What do you know?" Just as he opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash interrupted. A figure burst from the shadows unseen until now, startling both of them. A chill rushed down her spine as she stumbled back. "Get away from her!" The unfamiliar voice dripped with menace. Brooke's heart dropped as panic surged anew, reality deepening into a swirling chaos. Just when she thought she could piece it all together, she felt her world unravel. Who was this newcomer? And what danger was they truly facing? As the figure advanced, Brooke felt trapped, the walls closing in. What was happening? And how could she escape this new nightmare? Brooke's heart raced, her instincts screaming at her to flee as the mysterious figure moved closer. The rain poured down, drumming a relentless beat against their surroundings, heightening the tension in the air. "Who the hell are you?" Jonathan demanded, his voice sharper than before, pulling Brooke's focus back to him. She caught a glimpse of his widened eyes, fear mixing with an anger she couldn't fully comprehend. "Just someone who knows the truth," the figure replied, stepping into the flickering light. Brooke's breath caught in her throat. The man was lean, with a wildness to his hair and dark spectacles that glinted unnaturally. There was something unsettling about his presence, like a coiled snake ready to strike. "What truth?" Brooke asked, every muscle in her body tightening. The stranger sneered, glancing between her and Jonathan with a twisted satisfaction. "You really don't know, do you? This whole scheme, it's bigger than you ever imagined." Jonathan stepped forward, blocking Brooke's path. "Stay back," he shouted, but the stranger merely laughed, a cold, ominous sound that echoed down the alley. Brooke felt a wave of frustration mixed with fear. She could see Jonathan's resolve wane as he grappled with the weight of the moment. "This isn't just about the project anymore," he muttered, almost to himself. "I thought I could control it. What are you talking about?" Brooke couldn't hold back her panic any longer. "What scheme? What project?" The stranger narrowed his eyes, smirking as if enjoying Brooke's confusion. "You've been naive to think it was just a business deal. You've stumbled into a web that's been woven tightly. Jonathan knows he's in deeper than he lets on." Brooke turned sharply to Jonathan, searching for answers. "Is this true?" He hesitated, a flicker of betrayal flashing across his face. "I was trying to protect you," he stammered. "I didn't want you involved." "Protect me?" she echoed, the sting of betrayal igniting her anger. "By keeping secrets? By letting me walk blindly into danger?" The stranger tilted his head and chuckled, fueling the fire of tension. "You think you can just walk away from this? You think you can ignore what's coming?" He stepped closer. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "They'll come for you next, Brooke, mark my words." Fear tightened around her throat as she felt exposed, vulnerable to the chilling threat the stranger laid bare. "Who will?" she managed, her voice shaky. "People who don't like loose ends," he replied, his eyes flashing. "And you, my dear, are the biggest loose end of all." Brooke took a step back, her heart pounding. Everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. Jonathan looked stricken, caught between guilt and desperation. "Listen to me," he started, raising his hands defensively. "We can figure this out, but we have to act fast. Trust me just this once." "Trust you?" she spat, disbelief coloring her words. "You brought me into this mess. How can I believe you now? Because I'm the only one who can help you," he insisted, desperation creeping into his tone. Before Brooke could respond, a dark vehicle screeched to a halt at the end of the alley, its headlights glaring like a predator's eyes. The menacing figure smirked, glancing back with a twisted glee. "Looks like your time is up, lovebirds." Panic surged again, a chaotic energy flooding Brooke's system. "We have to go now." But Jonathan was frozen, the realization dawning in his eyes. "No, we can't just leave." "Or what? Just allow them to walk all over us?" she shouted, shoving past him, desperation mixing with defiance. As they turned to run, footsteps thundered behind them, echoing through the alley like a countdown to doom. Would they make it out alive? Was there even a way to escape the dark games now spiraling into chaos? As they raced toward the street, Brooke couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Who else knew their secrets? What lay ahead in the unforgiving night? Every shadow seemed to whisper the answers, lurking just out of reach. But as they dashed toward safety, one truth hung palpable in the air. There was no turning back now. What else had Jonathan hidden? And how far was he willing to go to keep her safe from the shadows closing in? The screech of tires faded into the rain-soaked night as Brooke and Jonathan sprinted toward the street. Heavy footsteps echoed ominously behind them, a malevolent reminder that they were not just fleeing from darkness, they were running for their lives. Heart racing, Brooke glanced over her shoulder. The figure from the alley was nowhere to be seen, but the fear coursing through her veins made it feel like his presence lingered in the air. Her instincts screamed at her to keep moving harder, faster. She could not shake the feeling that they were being hunted. "Brooke, wait!" Jonathan's voice echoed, a desperate plea as he finally caught up to her. He grabbed her arm, pulling her to a stop near the corner of the street. "We can't just run out there without a plan." His eyes were wild, but behind the fear, Brooke saw something else, something she had never expected. You knew something was off with that project. Why didn't you tell me, Jonathan?" The hurt bled through her voice. Raw and unrestrained, he released her arm, exhaling sharply. "I wanted to protect you. Anna, she told me it was a bad idea to involve you. I thought if you never knew, you'd be safe." "Safe?" she screamed, the word laced with disbelief. "Do you even understand how unsafe this is right now? What do you really think is going to happen?" Before Jonathan could answer, a loud crash interrupted them. A dumpster toppled over, scattering garbage into the street. Moments later, two shadowy figures emerged from the alleyway, their silhouettes barely visible in the dim light. The coldness of fear settled in her gut as she realized they weren't alone anymore. "Let us go," she urged. She felt the tightness in her chest sharpen. If they stayed here, they were done for. Jonathan hesitated, glancing at the men. "What if they're not with him? What if we can negotiate?" "Negotiate?" Brooke retorted, adrenaline bubbling over. "You can't negotiate with people who want to tie you up in their dirty games. We need to get out of here now." She turned, ready to bolt, but out of nowhere a hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. The sharp panic in her chest surged again. She whipped around, expecting to find one of the looming figures, but instead her heart dropped. It was Jonathan, pulling her closer, his eyes dark with anger and fear. "Listen to me. I won't let them take you," he hissed urgently. "Then let us get moving." With a swift motion, she broke free and bolted down the street, slipping between two parked cars. The rain fell harder, soaking them instantly. Screams from the alley faded slightly as they burst into a less populated area. But the moment was fleeting. "Over here," Jonathan said, pointing toward a nearby cafe. Its flickering neon signs barely a beacon in the downpour. "We can hide there until we figure out where to go." Brooke opened her mouth to protest but thought better of it. They were running out of time. The footsteps were back, louder and more aggressive, closing the distance. They ducked inside, water dripping from their clothes and hair. The cafe was dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls, but it felt safe for now. Jonathan locked the door behind them, breathing heavily, his face pale. Brooke scanned the room, the sense of urgency still thrumming in her blood. She leaned against the wall, trying to collect her racing thoughts. "What are we going to do?" His eyes darted around like a trapped animal, but beneath the terror lay remorse, a chasm of guilt and secrets. "We need to find out who they are. How much they know. Jonathan, where does this all lead?" She felt lost, her pulse racing as his silence hung heavy between them. "What game have you dragged me into?" "Brooke, you don't understand. They're not just after us. They're playing a bigger game, and it involves people we allowed." Bang shook the cafe. The door rattled violently as the figures from the alley tried to break in. Brooke's heart raced as the fear intensified. Suddenly, Jonathan's face hardened. "We have to split up." "No, absolutely not." Fear pierced through her, the thought of being alone sending a chill down her spine. "They're coming and I'll distract them. Just find a way to escape." Before she could argue, he pushed her toward the back exit, urgency blazing in his eyes. She stood frozen, panic clawing at her chest. "Jonathan, I won't leave you. Go. Now," he shouted, desperation fueling his voice as she darted towards the back. A question screamed in her mind: was he really trying to protect her? Or was this all part of a bigger deception? With each step she took away, the air grew heavier. Was the truth behind Jonathan's secret finally about to unravel? Or was the real danger still lurking ahead, waiting just out of sight? Brooke ran through the narrow corridor at the back of the cafe, her heart pounding louder than the rain hammering against the roof. She didn't look back. Didn't dare to contemplate where Jonathan might be, or what he might face. That thought alone was enough to send her into a panic. The stench of stale coffee and moist wood filled her nostrils, but there was no time to dwell. She burst through a door, the hinges creaking under the strain. The kitchen was dark, shadows pooling in the corners. She could hear the chaos growing outside, the pounding of fists against the front door, followed by sharp, angry shouts. Each noise sent shivers down her spine. Stay calm, she muttered to herself as she stumbled over a stack of boxes, knocking one over. Empty containers clattered to the floor, echoing in the darkness. Brooke's hands trembled, but she forced herself to breathe deeply. She scanned the kitchen looking for a way out. There had to be a back door. As she moved deeper into the dimly lit space, a low voice from the other side of the room seized her attention. "Who's there?" It was a man, his tone sharp, full of suspicion. Brooke froze, a lump forming in her throat. I'm just trying to get away," she called out, her voice shaking. The man stepped into the light, his face obscured but his figure looming large. The kitchen was cramped, and with every second passing she felt time slipping. "Doesn't matter," he replied, his voice lowering dangerously. "You won't be getting away that easily." Panic struck her as she realized this could be another threat. She leaned back against the wall, trying to create distance. "Why are you helping them? I don't have anything. I'm not part of this." "Part of what?" The man stepped closer, his intent unreadable in the dim lighting from outside. The front door splintered under the weight of a powerful kick. Brooke's heart raced as the realization hit her. They were running out of time. "You have to help me," she begged, desperation lacing her voice. His expression softened for a moment, then hardened again. "Help you? And risk my neck for a stranger?" At that moment a crash echoed through the cafe, and the man's attention snapped toward the commotion. Brooke seized her chance, darting for a door that led outside. Freedom was just inches away. The moment she opened the door, sunlight pierced through the darkness, blinding her for a second. The street was quiet, but shadows loomed near the entrance of the cafe, a pack of figures closing in. She stepped out into the street. What looked like an empty road turned into a potential trap as she saw them gather. Yet, something flickered in the corner of her eye. With quick movements she shot down a side alley. With each heartbeat the fear surged. But then a strong hand grabbed her shoulder, swinging her around. "We need to talk." It was the man from the kitchen. "I can help you, but you need to follow me." Brooke's instincts raged within her, warning her against trusting someone who had been hidden in shadows. "Are you serious? How do I know you're not part of it?" He ran a hand through his hair, exasperation clear on his face. "Because I'm not like them. I just want to survive this as much as you do." Behind him, the figures from the cafe materialized, prowling into the alley, their silhouettes menacing and dark. The man glanced back, his heart racing as the footsteps thundered closer. "Now, we have to get out of here." Brooke hesitated for just a moment. Was he truly an ally or yet another chess piece in this ruthless game? The weight of the choice pressed heavily as she stood at the edge of the alley, uncertainty battling against the instinct for survival. The truth behind Jonathan's secrets, the looming threat of their pursuers, and the motives of this stranger coiled tightly around her as they broke into a sprint down the alley. The question clung to her mind: who could she trust now in this game of shadows? The conclusion felt sinister and blurred, awaiting them at every corner. Brooke's feet pounded against the pavement, sweat forming beads along her brow as she followed the man, heart racing in sync with her feet. They rounded a corner, darting down a side street that led away from the chaos. With each glance back, the chilling sense of being hunted gripped her. The figures were gaining, how many she couldn't tell, but their low voices buzzed with malevolence. "Over here," he shouted, pulling her towards a heavy dumpster. The man shoved it aside, revealing a narrow passage leading to a parking lot behind an old warehouse. He glanced at her, urgency etched on his face. "Trust me, it's our only chance." She hesitated, her instincts on high alert. Thoughts of Jonathan flooded her mind, but she couldn't let herself be paralyzed by fear. With a quick nod, She followed him into the cramped space, the stench of garbage nearly overwhelming. As they descended deeper into the shadows, an unsettling quiet enveloped them. It was suffocating. "What's your name?" the man asked, his voice low but firm. "Brooke," she said, trying to steady the tremor in her voice. "What about you?" He didn't reply immediately, eyes scanning the entrance. "I'm Alex." His face was finally illuminated as they reached the end of the passage. The dim light flickered from the flickering bulbs overhead. "Why were you in the cafe?" she demanded, desperation breaching her usual caution. "What do you know about this?" "Listen, Brooke." Alex rubbed the back of his neck, his brow furrowing with concern. "I was there because I've been investigating what's been happening in this neighborhood. There are people after you, and I'm not just talking about the ones at the cafe. They won't stop until they get what they want." Brooke's heart raced again. Not just from fear but from a sudden surge of realization. "What do you mean, after me? Why me?" Before he could answer, loud shouts echoed through the alley, now completely filled with a sense of foreboding. The figures were closer. His grip tightened on her arm. "They must have followed us. You have to trust me. Just keep moving." They bolted across the parking lot, the air thick with tension. The sound of footsteps echoed behind them, growing more urgent. Brooke dared not look back. Every instinct implored her to run. Adrenaline surged, pushing her feet faster. As they neared the far edge of the lot, she caught sight of an old van parked haphazardly. "Get in," Alex ordered, yanking the door open. She hesitated, words tumbling around in her mind. But the urgency in his voice left no room for doubt. Climbing in quickly, she slammed the door shut just as shadows appeared at the edge of the lot. Alex dove into the driver's seat, quickly twisting the key in the ignition. The engine sputtered but didn't roar to life. No, come on." Brooke could see the figures now, creeping along the sides of the buildings, their intentions clear. "They're right there," she pleaded, panic surging again as she felt her heart in her throat. One figure stepped into the light, his face twisted with malicious glee. She recognized him from the cafe. A hunter, relentless and cruel. The moment stretched uncomfortably as the engine let out a dying sputter. "Damn it!" Alex cursed under his breath. "Stay low." With an explosion of noise, the engine roared to life. He slammed the gear into drive, tires screeching as they blasted forward. Brooke's breath hitched. "Where are we going? Do you know who they are? Why they want me? I can explain everything. I just need you to hold on," he shouted, and she could hear the tension crackling in his voice as they sped away. A horrible thought struck her. What if trusting him was the worst choice she could make? The city glimmered like a labyrinth of danger beyond the grimy windows. She kept her gaze locked on the road ahead, her heart still pounding wildly. Outside the van, a darkness closed in. Shadows were stirring, plans were taking form, and secrets were surfacing. Would they uncover the true reason behind the relentless pursuit before it was too late? As Brooke gripped the seat, uncertain of her next move, the day's events began to weave together like a tangled web. What if the danger wove deeper than just the men chasing them? What if it was right next to her? The van lurched forward, screeching wheels tearing through the stillness of the night. Brooke held on tight, eyes darting between the streets racing past, and the looming shadows dancing outside the tinted windows. Alex's grip tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles as white as the straining gears providing their escape. "This doesn't make any sense," Brooke gasped, desperation clawing at her throat. "What do they want with me?" Alex's jaw clenched, his focus unwavering on the road ahead. "If I tell you now, we risk losing our chance to get away. Just believe me when I say that your life is in danger." Dread settled in her gut as she finally turned to look at him. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." He glanced at her, the flickering dashboard lights revealing the strain written on his face. "I've seen enough. People like them don't stop until they get what they want. You need to understand this isn't just about you." "What does that mean?" Her heart raced faster. The words felt like a slow-motion ship sinking. If he wasn't telling her everything, what else was hidden beneath the surface? "Trust me," he repeated, but it left a bitter taste in her mouth. Trust was fragile, especially now. Suddenly, a loud bang pierced the night. A dark sedan had charged onto the main street, directly behind them, its headlights glaring like a predator's eyes. Brooke's breath quickened as the unmistakable pulse of pursuit ignited inside her. Shit! Alex slammed on the brakes, turning sharply into an alley. Brooke's body lurched against the seat as panic surged anew. Are they gaining? She demanded, heart hammering. I can't tell. Just keep your head down, he urged, taking a sharp right turn that sent them skidding dangerously close to dumpster. The adrenaline pulsed thick through her veins, but in that split second Brooke's intuition screamed. She needed answers. Alex, please. If I'm in this much danger, I have a right to know why. Taking a deep breath, Alex navigated through the tight alleyway. There are people involved you'd never expect, high stakes. A larger game is being played and you've stumbled right into it. What was that supposed to mean? A game? Her hands tightened into fists. She'd spent so long being blindly obedient, and now her life was spiraling into chaos. Your cryptic words don't mean anything when I'm being hunted. I know. His tone softened for a moment as if breaking down the walls they had both built. But the people after you think you know something. They're not just looking for you, they're looking for whatever you've uncovered. Brooke's heart sank as a surge of memories flashed. Snippets of conversations. Hidden files on her computer. A phrase she had overheard. You mean the company? The investigation? When he nodded, darkness slipped under her skin, a chilling realization. My colleagues at the firm? Exactly. He turned abruptly onto another street, breathing hard as he stole glances in the rearview mirror, searching for signs of life. Each moment felt fleeting, a fragile breath that could shatter everything. The thoughts spiraled painfully in her mind. If they think I know something, what if I do? What if I've been part of something so much bigger? Then we need to figure it out, Alex shot back, angst flashing in his emerald eyes. As the city blurred behind them, Brooke tried to remember details, frantically sifting through her mind. What had she stumbled across that day at the office? Before she could formulate a response, a sudden flash blared in the mirrors, a vehicle surging closer, tires squealing. Panic surged like hot flames through the van, heat and shadows melding into one horrifying reality. Hold on tight, Alex yelled, his voice a raw mixture of urgency and fear. The chase was escalating. The outcome felt inevitable. Would they find safety before it shattered? Or would secrets long buried pull them deeper into the darkness? As her thoughts raced, Brooke realized that the truth might be even more unpredictable than the chase itself. But she couldn't shake the feeling that one more twist awaited them. What was lurking just beyond the shadows? The van careened into a narrow street, barely wide enough to fit. Time seemed to stretch as adrenaline surged through both Brooke and Alex, their hearts pounding in unison. The shadows from the buildings seemed to reach toward them, eager to swallow them whole. Behind, the sound of the pursuing vehicle was relentless, a growl of an unseen predator. Alex! Brooke shouted, her voice rising above the roar. What do we do? He glanced in the mirror again. We need to lose them. Their parking garage a few blocks away. Maybe they'll think we went somewhere else. Just keep quiet. A parking garage? The thought made her stomach twist. Would they even get the chance to hide? The looming threat felt tangible, like the air weighed down by a heavy fog of fear. Another screeching of tires echoed off the walls as the dark sedan followed closely, its headlights cutting through the dark like a knife. They were practically breathing down their necks. I can't think, Brooke cried, her heart racing in her chest. We need a plan, Alex. Just hold on, he muttered, jaw clenched tight. He took another sharp turn, and Brooke felt the G-forces push her against her seatbelt. Her instincts were screaming for a way out, for answers, and she needed them now before it was too late. As they neared the entrance of the parking garage, a sudden thought flashed through her mind. The files. I need to remember. She could almost visualize them, the ones she saw on the cloud platform, the ones that had sparked her curiosity and led her to dig deeper. Stop thinking. Just focus on getting us out of here. Alex's voice was sharp, but his eyes showed fear. The entrance loomed before them like a mouth of a beast waiting to snap them up. Before Alex could steer them in, another gunshot rang out, echoing ominously, reverberating in the night like a death knell. Go! Go! She screamed as they skidded inside, tires screeching against concrete. The van tucked into a corner of the dimly lit garage, hearts racing as they sat in the thickening silence, breaths coming fast and heavy. Alex's eyes darted to the exits, scanning for danger. while Brooke felt the weight of their situation crashing down. What if they find us here? We need to hide. Stay low. If we're lucky, we might slip past them, Alex replied, gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline. Brooke's mind raced back to the details she had brushed aside. They think I know something, but what if it's more than just that? What if I accidentally uncovered something? Her voice trailed off, the weight of recognition pressing heavy on her. Suddenly, Alex turned to her, eyes wide and fierce. Brooke, listen to me. If we get out of this, I promise you'll know everything. Just trust me one more time. The desperation in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Who was this man? Was he really there to help her? Or was he tangled in the same web of deceit? Then another thought slipped in, sending daggers of confusion through her heart. What if he had more to lose than she did? Just as the tension peaked, the lights of the garage flickered ominously, plunging them into shadow once again. Alex turned off the engine, and they held their breath, the air thick with uncertainty. Each second felt like an eternity. Then the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed through the garage, amplified and bone-chilling in the void. Brooke pressed her back against the seat, her pulse thundering in her ears. Keep quiet, Alex whispered, urgency lacing his voice. The footsteps grew closer and then stopped. The darkness felt alive, pulsating with palpable dread. Are they just outside? Brooke whispered, heart racing. I don't know, but they look. His eyes pierced into hers, a fervor igniting a mix of fear and determination. A sudden cry echoed from somewhere deeper in the garage. They went this way. It made her flinch. This was not just a game. Their lives hung in the balance. Brooke's heart raced as she considered her next move. What if she compromised them by speaking? Or would silence lead to doom? But before she could decide, the reality hit her, fear behind them, and uncertainty ahead. What would she learn if she survived this night? What shocking truths waited in the shadows? The footsteps resumed, closing in, the weight of their impending confrontation looming larger than ever. The silence hung heavy in the air, thick and taunting. Brooke and Alex sat nestled in the dark, their breaths staggered, hearts pounding like war drums. The footsteps grew louder, echoing ominously. But there was a newfound awareness building in Brooke's chest. This was more than just a chase. It was a confrontation with a truth that might finally reveal itself. Suddenly, the figure loomed into sight, dark, menacing. But it wasn't just one man. There were two, armed and ready, their silhouettes stark against the flickering garage lights. Panic surged through her veins, but instinct kicked in. Alex, we need to move now, she whispered, urgency cascading through her. But just as they prepared to slip out of the van, one of the figures spoke. You think we won to find you? The voice dripped with condescension, chills seeping into their already terrified hearts. You've crossed the wrong people, Brooke. Who are you? Alex replied, voice steadier than Brooke felt. She watched him, admiration and fear intertwined, as he faced the danger head-on. Just someone who has unfinished business, the figure sneered, stepping closer. And you, Alex, are in over your head. Stay back, Brooke shouted, her voice stronger than she anticipated, firing away the fear that threatened to suffocate her. In that second she realized this wasn't just about her survival. This was about reclaiming her shattered sense of self. Everything around her shifted. You think you can intimidate me? You have no idea what I'm capable of. The men paused, surprised by her sudden ferocity. Look at her, one of them scoffed. Playing the hero. That'll be your downfall. Brooke's heart raced as adrenaline surged through her. The storm inside wasn't only about fear now. It was a fierce determination growing in the wake of all that had happened. I may not know everything, but I'm done being scared of people like you. Before she could think twice, she grabbed a metal pipe lying in the corner, a remnant of the disarray around them. She brandished it like a sword, a mix of genuine terror and newfound ferocity dancing in her eyes. You think I'm just going to stand here? The men shared a glance, uncertainty flashing across their faces. You think you can scare us? One took a step forward, but she swung the pipe at him, her instinct roaring louder than any doubt. Out of my way, she shouted as she sprang from the van, adrenaline fueling her every move. A second figure darted toward her, but Alex leaped out behind her, tackling him to the ground. Run, Brooke, he yelled as they wrestled. Energy surged through her limbs, the fear morphing into a fierce will to fight back, to confront the shadows that had tinged her life. "Go!" she shouted back, but as she started running, a bullet ricocheted off the wall nearby, the echo ringing in her ears. "Brooke! Come on!" Alex's voice sliced through the chaos, his wrestling match drawing out longer than either anticipated. With a burst of instinct only left for survival, she bolted towards a side exit, the sound of her pounding heart a drumbeat echoing against the walls, propelling her into the night. She could hear Alex struggling behind her, and in that moment, guilt clawed at her. But there was no choice. She needed to escape. Outside in the night air, the rain fell heavier, soaking her instantly. The street felt wide open, dark silhouettes looming, but in the distance a police siren blared. Brooke made one split-second decision, her feet a swift blur as she sprinted down the street, praying Alex would follow. A figure emerged directly in front of her, dark, ominous, but much closer this time. "You won't get away that easily," the man snarled, reaching out. But just as she felt her heart drop, she heard voices. The familiar sound of authority charged through the air, sirens, shouts, frantic footsteps. Relief tasted sweet, mingled with the profound realization that she had to keep running. Suddenly, she spotted a police car turning the corner, headlights cutting through the night like a beacon. "This way!" she screamed, waving her arms. Brooke ducked into a side alley, urging her legs to move faster. The adrenaline coursed with her every step, her mind racing. What had she unlocked? Had she stumbled into something that could pull her under? Into a tide of chaos no one could escape? "Brooke!" Alex's voice finally broke through the haze as he appeared, breathless but alive, a grin breaking through the tension. "Thank God!" she gasped, pulling him along. "Police! We have to get to them!" And together they ran towards the crazy flashing lights and the shouting crowd. They pushed desperately through the throng of people, the chaos weaving into a bizarre sense of safety. She could feel the warmth of inviolable compassion, empathetic souls reaching out, their shared fear battling against the darkness. As they approached the officers, feelings of vulnerability rushed in. Brooke turned to Alex, uncertainty dancing between them. "What happens now?" she whispered, the weight of it all pressing heavily. "The truth will come out, Brooke," he said earnestly, his eyes locked onto hers. "We'll figure this out together. Promise. But we need to be ready for whatever is coming next." With a nod she understood. They were in this together, through the fear, through the shadows and beyond. And just like that, the storm within her began to settle, mingling with the hope that began to blossom. "Let us go," she said, more resolute now than ever. "I'm done hiding." They stepped into the light, ready to face whatever awaited them, knowing that the twists and shadows of the past would eventually reveal themselves fully if they could stand together and confront them. So, embrace the narrative that unfolds next. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss a single twist of these incredible stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, because your support is what keeps these adventures alive. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this electrifying ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see what's next. Let's take this journey together.